Thank you so much for taking the time away from your busy schedule to join me in this webinar. I am Sharda Murthy, a technical expert and product marketer from the Manage Engine ADSelfService Plus team, and I am going to be your presenter for today. So I hope you're having a great day already. And today we're going to be talking more about efficient password management with ADSelfService Plus. If you were not able to be part of the day one of this particular series, which was yesterday, all you have to do is drop in a quick mail ID. You can drop in your mail ID to me or drop in a mail to me, and I will ensure that the resource kit of the previous webinar reaches you. So like I said yesterday, we are going to be talking beyond the boundary of Active Directory. We're going to go beyond the boundary of Active Directory and analyze how enterprises make use of other applications and how we can efficiently manage passwords of other on-premises and cloud applications as well, and what else ADSelfService Plus has in store. So before I jump into the technical aspects of today's session, a quick check. I would like to know if my voice is audible and the display is well and clear. So if you can hear me, if you can see your screen pretty clearly, please drop in a yes message in the chat box or questions tab so I know we're good to go. And if in case you do have any trouble with respect to hearing me, the audio, the video of the session, please feel free to inform me immediately so I can look into the issue and try and resolve it. Thank you so much. If you can hear me, just drop in a yes message. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so that's a couple of yes and a good sign for me to get started. With no further ado, the agenda put forth in front of us today is to start and talk about beefing up the first layer of security that we have, which is passwords. Yesterday, I touched upon the importance of having stronger passwords and why it is very important to defend our network from password attacks. So today we're going to delve more into this and talk about the granular password policy that ADSelfService Plus provides. And the advantage of this is that you can restrict users from using patterns, restrict users from using certain words. You can also levy complexity rules for users' passwords. That's a couple of rules listed in the screen right in front of you. So I'm sure you're aware that the native Windows Active Directory does have a password policy in place. It does have a password policy in place. But why are we talking about a granular password policy, or why am I stressing on having certain complexity rules in place? The reason being, the Active Directory native password policy was devised literally 20 years back and has not seen any drastic change. Yes, even after the GPO, even after the fine-grained policy, we have not seen any password-related policy changes. And even today, you can go ahead and set 12345 or your username or the month or your organization's name as the password. And these are few of the weakest passwords that are usually used by users across the world. Believe me, across the world. I'm guilty. I've used 12345 in my password so many times. I'm guilty of using my username in my password so many times before a restriction was levied on an organizational level, on an Active Directory level. But the advantage that we have here with ADSelfService Plus is that this particular granular password policy that you're seeing on your screen can not only be enforced for your Active Directory, it can also be enforced for your ADUC console, your Gina CP screen, and multiple on-premises and cloud applications. I'm going to quickly get to that very, very shortly. So the second part of today's agenda is going to be password synchronization. So when I say password management or enterprise password management, we cannot leave it at just talking about password resets. We need to look further, analyze how an organization works, how an enterprise works, and try and fill in all the gaps that there are with respect to an organization when it comes to password management. So with ADSelfService Plus, when we talk about empowering users to take care of their own password self-service, we need to focus on making the logon process easy for them. And one of the easiest ways to do that is password synchronization. I'll tell you why. And I know your next obvious question is going to be, if I synchronize passwords between multiple Active Directory and other cloud applications, isn't it going to be isn't it going to be a threat? Isn't it going to be a network or security threat? I'm going to give you a very diplomatic answer, but the answer will definitely be convincing enough for you to get started. So when we talk about password synchronization, we said that we have one password, one Active Directory password, which is synchronized for your Google Apps, your Office 365, and other business applications that you use in your organization. And what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, it is a big risk to have one single password across multiple applications. Yes, there are users who still unknowingly use password synchronization. How? Is because they simply have to remember only one set of credentials for their Active Directory, for their G Suite, their Facebook login, their Instagram accounts, their Twitter, their so all the other social media, the business accounts, their online shopping accounts. Once again, I'm guilty. I've been there. I have used one single set of passwords across multiple applications. But when we're talking about business applications, this is definitely a concern because we are talking about compromise of sensitive user information. And when I'm talking about attacks, I recently came across a report which said 81% of network and password based attacks that happen, cyber attacks that happen in the world, are because of three main reasons. One being weak passwords, two being compromised identity, and three being copied passwords, which is nothing but passwords that are easily accessible to your employees, your friends, your family, and all that. So when I talk about password synchronization, am I not giving in to this security breach? In all honesty, I would say no, because when we started with today's agenda, I said we're talking about enforcing a granular password policy for both on-premises and cloud applications. So when I say that, I am setting a rule where I do not permit users in my organization to have dictionary words in their password. I restrict patterns like month, organizational name, username. I set complexities with respect to length, number, characters, patterns like palindromes. I also have a history rule and I have a passphrase rule, which means if the length is more than, let's say, 20 characters, all the other password complexities can be overridden. So when I set a granular password policy, I am assured that the first layer of defense is secure enough to not prevent the attack, but to delay the attack. Yes, it is good to be optimistic, but coming back to ground reality, we know how advanced cybersecurity threats are. We know how advanced the hacking technologies have gotten. And there is nobody who can say that a particular password cannot be hacked, a particular password hash cannot be cracked. There is nobody who would admit to that. No password expert, password management specialist would admit to that. I'm sure you and I wouldn't admit to that either. But what we're trying to do by enforcing a granular password policy right here is to not prevent attacks. We are trying to delay the attacks so we can take the necessary step when we have an attack pattern detected. And to be able to successfully achieve that, we are going to be talking or enforcing a granular password policy for your Active Directory, your on-premises applications, your cloud applications as well. So when a granular password policy is enforced for your Office 365, your G Suite, and other applications, we are talking about securing the access to these business applications as well, wherein I can confidently say that you needn't worry about a password attack because you have increase the time for the password to be hacked. You are buying time for your organization, for your administrators to react to a password attack, a security threat, where you can mitigate the threat, you can take the right actions to prevent that attack happening in your organization, in your network. And that is what we're trying to achieve with ADSelfService Plus, with a combination of features starting from the password policy enforcer going all the way to password synchronization. And towards the last segment of today's session, we're going to be talking about single sign-on. My preference is definitely single sign-on over password synchronization for the simple reason that there are two authentications that happen. The SAML as well as your Active Directory server is checked with. And when you're working with ADSelfService Plus single sign-on, you get access to multiple applications, more than 100 pre-configured applications right from one single console. So all I have to do as a user is click on a particular app to gain access to that particular application. And I am making the logon process extremely simple, extremely user-friendly, and easy to access. Because we have to admit we are fast moving towards cloud technology. We have to admit that we do not work with one or two applications on a daily basis. And once again, some report that I've read recently said that an average employee in an average enterprise makes use of a minimum of 5 applications on an everyday basis. The thought of it is cumbersome. Thankfully, we have single sign-on within the organization in my workplace, but I'm not sure how many organizations support single sign-on within their organization for accessing multiple applications within their organization. For instance, just to give you an example that you can relate to, when you log into your Google account, let's say your Gmail account, the next time you log into YouTube or when you're trying to Google search, you can see that you're automatically logged in, or any other Google apps, for instance. You can see that you're automatically logged in and you do not have to enter your credentials every single time. The same holds good for Microsoft as well, Microsoft-based applications as well. So when we are working on an enterprise level or an organizational level, we are talking about multiple applications belonging to multiple vendors. And if there is a one single portal which will give access to your Google, your Office 365, Salesforce, and all the other work applications that you use, it makes work very, very simple. It makes the process of logging in very, very simple and basically prevents password fatigue. So this is the importance of having single sign-on in place. That's a lot of talking. I'm going to quickly jump to the ADSelfService Plus portal to show you how we can get started configuring all this and show you a live demo of how this works. And if you're somebody who is a customer of ADSelfService Plus, if you're somebody who has worked with ADSelfService Plus for quite some time, let me give you a forewarning. This is not something that's new for you. I'm sure it's a cakewalk. I'm sure you might probably have a better experience of using the application more than me because you have deployed it in your organization. But for the others who are getting introduced to ADSelfService Plus or seeing this application for the very first time, let me tell you that this is going to be a learning curve right here, right from here. And if you do have any questions, if you have difficulty following up at any point of time, please feel free to drop in a question in the questions tab or chat box, and I will ensure that I answer to you right away or show you a quick demo as I proceed with the session for today. All right, so I'm going to quickly log in as an administrator and walk through what we had done yesterday. So as you can see, my domain settings has been pre-configured. I have 3 different self-service policies in the policy configuration. This is configured based on OUs and groups present in the Active Directory. What I've also done is finished the configuration for G Suite and Office 365, but what I'm going to do is temporarily disable the applications for now so we can take up a step-by-step action. And let's firstly focus on enforcing a granular password policy. So I'm going to give a couple of seconds for you to take a look at all the policy setting or complexities that we support here in ADSelfService Plus. So right from increasing the length, special characters, uppercases, numeric, we go all the way to consecutive characters, palindromes, old passwords, which is history, the dictionary rule, restrict patterns like QRT, SDF 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also override complexity rules if the length is above a certain minimal value. So this is basically the password complexity rule that you can apply or you can enforce to users for belonging to a particular self-service policy, OU, or group. And what I'm going to do now is enforce this policy in the Gina Mac and the ADUC console as well, and also show this policy requirement in the reset password and change password pages. I'm going to hit save. Believe me when I say this, this is extremely simple to configure. That is all that I had to do. There was no pre-configuration with respect to the password policy enforcer. That is literally all I had to do. All right, so what I'm going to do now is quickly log in and try to access the domain user login as a user belonging to the policy admin. So when I jump to the change password tab in the user login, you can see that I have a list of complexity rules displayed right there that I need to abide to. So as I enter my old and new password, I have a check against all the complexity rules that I have abided to. I'm going to click change password and see if I can change my password, if I can override the enforced password policy, but unfortunately not, because I have not met all the policy requirements. This is very, very important because as a user, they are not only aware of what the complexity rules, they're also ensured of the security of that particular password that they've been using. They're aware of what's going on. They're aware of what's going in as well. The same works for the password reset process as well. If you remember, we had worked with enrollment yesterday. I've not changed the functionality, so we're going to go ahead and use the security question answer so I can show you how we work. All right, and answering my security questions, I am going to try and proceed. Let me do that again. All right, so you can see even in the reset password console, which this set of complexities was not available yesterday, whereas today we are working with this. The same system works for reset password as well. Enter the captcha, try to reset your password. This time it will definitely fail because you have multiple complexity rules that you've not met. In this case, it's me because it's my account. So yes, this is how simple it is to enforce a granular password policy for users belonging to a particular OU or group. So let me quickly jump to my ADUC console and also show you that this particular password policy is enforced in my ADUC console as well. So I'm going to jump to the admin portal, access Sharda's account, try to reset her password. I'm not sure if you have seen this console before, but I'm going to try and reset her password. And I have a message from ADDS which says the password change cannot be completed because it does not meet the policy requirements. And this is what we're trying to achieve. We are trying to put a roadblock for any weak password in the organization wherever it can be changed. So this is one more example. We have enforced it in the reset password and change password pages. We have enforced it in the ADUC console as well. Let's try and do the same with the Gina CP screen. But what I'm going to do is make use of the online keyboard because it's the on-screen keyboard. So what's been happening is my key has not been working and I was not able to access the Gina CP screen in the previous session. So I had to figure out a way to do it, and this works. So when I click on change a password, I really want you to observe what will happen next. I am pretty sure that you have not seen a password policy or a password complexity requirement listed on your Gina CP screen ever. This is one of my favorite parts of the session, and the sole reason being I have a check against all the complexity rules that I need to abide to every time I'm changing my password. Which means when I try to change a password or enforce a password without having or meeting the requirements, it is rejected because of the following reasons. And this is very, very important for me because once our users the users in our organization are aware of what is going on with respect to their password complexity, I am pretty sure we're not only educating them, but we can also ensure that those users will consciously make an effort to have a better password to protect their accounts, to protect the organizational network indirectly. All right, so this is all about password policy enforcer. I'm going to jump to the next segment of this webinar. If you do have any questions, please keep them coming. I'll try and answer them right away. And now that I spoke about enforcing a granular password policy for both on-premises and cloud applications, I would also like to tell you that this self-service password reset via the Control-Alt-Delete screen and the ADUC console is possible because of the Gina Mac installation that is up and running. And since the Gina Mac, let me quickly walk you through where that is available in the admin portal. So under administrative tools is where you can find Gina Mac, and in the installation tab, you can see that it's been installed in this particular computer. And this is very, very important for ADSelfService Plus to be able to successfully enforce or permit a reset password or change password operation, as well as enforce the granular password policy. Another very, very, very important point for us to note is that you need to have the Manage Engine Password Sync agent downloaded, configured, and up and running. The reason why this is important is because password synchronization as well as enforcing a password policy happens through the password sync agent, and without which you will not be able to successfully proceed with enforcing it. So once you click this particular link available right here, there is a dedicated help document that will allow you to download and set up the password sync agent, the Manage Engine Password Sync agent as well. And all you have to do is enter the host name and the credentials for you to get started and get going. That's about it. All right, so this is all that we spoke about from the administrator's point of view with respect to setting up the ADSelfService Plus password policy enforcer, granular password policy enforcer. So let's move on and try to synchronize passwords between Active Directory and other cloud applications. And today, when we started, I told you that I had pre-configured it for Office 365, but I'm still going to go ahead and show you what I had done. All that I had to do is choose the module, which is Password Synchronizer, given the domain name that I'm working with, display name, the user account, which is nothing but my admin account, given the password. I've opened this to all policies at the moment, and that is all I need to do. That is all I need to do with respect to configuring Office 365 or Azure password synchronization, Active Directory-based password synchronization. So if you're wondering how this works in the back end, if you're wondering how will I configure a domain and how can I expect my users to be automatically mapped to a particular account? So that's what I'm going to talk about right now. So what we call this is account linking. And what we mean by account linking is that we need to tell ADSelfService Plus which particular attribute or which particular mail format needs to be mapped with, or which particular attribute we abide to in our organization. So the system is Office 365 Sync, automatic account linking is enabled. So in my organization, when we particularly work with this particular account, what we do is we make of the Active Directory unique attribute, which is SAM account name. And this is the account format that we work with. In some cases, it could be your mail itself, but we work with the SAM account name. So that is how I'm going to try and map this. But if you do not have a common attribute or a common unique attribute that you follow in your organization, all you need to do is hit disable, wherein the user can choose the account that they would like to map it with for this particular domain. For instance, when we're working on an enterprise level where one particular user has multiple accounts in a particular domain, for instance, let's say jake@evergrowingtech.com, jake1@evergrowingtech.com. Obviously, for different business purposes, Jake will be able to take a call on which account he would like to map for this particular domain. So you can choose to disable it, but we have a standard attribute format in my organization. So I'm going to stick to some account name for this particular domain, I mean. And yes, that's about it. That's literally all I need to do to set up my password synchronization for Office 365. So what I'm going to do next is obviously log in as the domain user and show you that once this has been enabled, under the Applications tab, I have Office 365 listed, Office 365 password sync listed. And when I jump to change password this time, you can see that the Active Directory account along with my Office 365 account is available right here. So when I try and change my password, the password would be automatically changed for my Office 365 account as well. But what I'm going to do is go back and show you one more aspect of the password policy enforcer. That is to satisfy a couple of the password complexity rules. The reason why I'm showing you this right now is you have an option to enforce all the complexity rules and allow users to choose or satisfy a minimum of these number of complexity rules, because it is usually believed, I want to think it is a myth, but it's usually believed that the more the complexity rules, the more difficult it is to remember the password. I would not like to believe that. I've not experienced it from my experience of talking to different customers from around the world. But if you think that might be the problem for a user to set up a password, you can set a minimum count and click on save. So I'm going to go back to this page, repeat my action, and show you that I have satisfied 4 out of all the complexity rules listed right here. When I hit change password, I can see that something's happening, but I'm going to wait for it to tell me that it has happened successfully. Yes, yes, the passwords have been successfully changed for both Active Directory and Office 365. I hope you understand the intensity of this. Now we have a strong password, a granular password policy enforced, not only for my Active Directory, but for my Office 365 account as well. So we have got the security aspect covered. We also have one single strong smart password, which the user can make use of to log into his Office 365 account, as well as his Active Directory or Windows logon, which simply means that we are trying to strike the right balance between security and ease of use. Ease of use or usability, or provide the right kind of self-service solution for users in our organization. So let's not stop there. Let's try and get this tested. I'm going to try and log in to my domain. I think I have more difficulty in remembering my user account than my password itself, because my password is a smart password. Okay, I'm going to try see there. Let's try and log in. Next. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm wrong with the username itself. Okay, the easiest thing I can do right now is jump back and simply copy paste. Done. I'm going to try and just paste this. Finally, thank you. So I'm guessing it was some kind of a typing error. All right, so what I'm going to do is try and log in with the password that I just changed. Yes. And there we go. We have been logged in to our Office 365, to my Office 365 account that we just finished password synchronization for. With one single password that I need to remember, and can be rest assured that it is much secure than the native passwords that I've been using all the while. This is the advantage of password synchronization, and you can achieve password synchronization for not one, two, but multiple on-premises and cloud applications. All right, moving on to the final leg of today's webinar, we are going to be talking about one-click, easy, seamless access to not one, to not 10, but 100 business applications with Active Directory based single sign-on. So this is very, very interesting for multiple reasons. One, you have a big list of applications that you can configure, business applications that you probably make use of in your organization. But the better part is, if you come from an organization where you make use of multiple internal applications as well, believe me when I say this, we have got you covered. So you can create a one-click single sign-on access to any SAML-based application, both internal and external, right here from this particular custom app form. So all you have to do is give in the application name, choose the categories, go ahead and post which that particular application that you would like to configure single sign-on would be listed right here in this list, making it super easy for users in your organization to access their internal applications as well. So when I said I've never had the trouble of having to log in every single time I access more than one application in my organization because we have single sign-on built in internally, I wanted to tell you that you can achieve the same with ADSelfService Plus. You can configure SAML-based single sign-on by adding custom applications right here and permitting users to access these applications from one single portal. So what I've done here is, once again, taken a very common application that most organizations use around the world. All I had to do is choose my module, which is single sign-on. I've given it the domain name, the display name, and the policies as well. So once I update this, I also need to make note of the single sign-on certification and the other attributes that I require to complete single sign-on from Google Send. So I'm going to let you explore that option. We also have a dedicated help document to guide you through a step-by-step instruction guide to help you set up single sign-on for G Suite. So this is all you need to do from the ADSelfService Plus side of things for G Suite. It's also one of the easiest configurations that I have done. So for Google, you have to log into the administrative account, go to the security settings and set up SAML-based SSO for ADSelfService Plus once again. So once this is done, I'm going to jump and refresh this page to show you that Google Apps has popped up right here. And when I click to login, when I hover and click to login, and I click next, don't be surprised to see that I am automatically logged into my account. The domain that I'm working with, we can quickly cross-verify that this is the domain that we configured. Automatic login with just one click. And if this is so easy to set up and get started for one account, imagine the time it saves. Imagine how effortless it is if you have it up and running for all the applications in your organization. So there's one more thing that I would like to show. Now that we have the single sign-on configuration for G Suite up and running, what I'm going to do is log out of the domain user and try to log in directly from the URL, directly from Google URL. So I'm not sure if you noticed what just happened, but when I click on the particular account that I'd like to work with, the user is redirected to the ADSelfService Plus page where the user has to enter his or her domain credentials, Active Directory credentials, which acts as the first layer of defense before granting access, which once again means we're not talking about multiple passwords, but we're talking about one single password and two authentications, your Active Directory and SAML-based authentication. And this is how simple it is to get started setting up single sign-on in your organization, once again, for not one, for not 10, but multiple on-premises and cloud applications, custom applications as well. All right, so with that said, I am almost at the end of today's session. A quick tip, which is not there in today's agenda, but I would highly, highly recommend. We also have a webinar coming up exclusively on this particular topic. And if you're interested, you can drop in your mail ID to me and I will reach out to you, giving you details on how to register. So what I mean to say is log on two-factor authentication. ADSelfService Plus supports log-on two-factor authentication where users have to go through not one, but a secondary factor of authentication as well, one on among the four listed right here, to verify their identity for a second time before they get access to their account. The reason why we have this in place is purely security reasons. The reason why we have this in place is because it is better to authenticate a user's identity twice instead of once. And one more reason why we have it in place is because with single sign-on, when one set of credentials is compromised, the hacker or the organization that's trying to attack gets access to all your accounts, all the user accounts, gets access to all the data. And this is exactly what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to beef up password security by not just beefing up the password in itself with the password policy enforcer, but the entire process of resetting passwords, the process of changing passwords, the process of unlocking accounts, self-updating information, logging into multiple applications with the help of single sign-on with what you see on your screen, two-factor authentication. Once again, passwords are a very diplomatic topic. When I talk about passwords, I'm very careful on what I have to say. So when I say we're trying to beef up security, I'm very careful when I pick the words. I am not trying to say we are preventing attacks. All I'm trying to say is we have taken the right measures. We need to take the right measures to ensure that the attack is mitigated, the attack is delayed. So we buy time. We have all the time to act upon what bad is coming, is being directed to us as an organization, as an enterprise, all the compromise that we have to go through, all the monetary loss that we have to go through in case of a cyber attack. We are taking the necessary steps to mitigate what is about to happen. We're not trying to prevent it with the actions that we're taking. We're trying to mitigate it. We're trying to act upon it in advance. We're also trying to buy time. And with the time that we have in our hands, we can take all the right measures, all the right with the right auditing tools, we can take all the right measures well in advance when we're even aware of an attack going to happen with respect to passwords, with respect to your user accounts being compromised. And the reason I'm stressing on this once again is because 81% of cyber attacks that happen in today's world, today, tomorrow, 81% of attacks that happen are because of compromised passwords, weak passwords, and stolen passwords. And it is also very, very important for us to note that every single day, this is a report from Microsoft itself, every single day, 95 million Active Directory accounts are being targeted every single day. All right, so I would like to end my session right there. I really, really hope it was informative. And if you do have any questions, please keep them coming. I'm going to try and answer them. You can also drop in all your questions regarding ADSelfService Plus, or if you require any resources or material with regard to ADSelfService Plus, to me at sharda@manageengine.com. I am Sharda Murthy, a product expert in Manage Engine ADSelfService Plus, and it was an immense pleasure to be the host for today. I'm so thankful to be presenting today, and thank you all so much for taking the time away from your busy schedule to attend and be part of this webinar. Looking forward to seeing you all in the upcoming sessions, and may you take the right steps to secure and safeguard your organization from password attacks, from identity compromises. With that said, this is Sharda Murthy signing off. Thank you so much. Have a great day.